for me, trust with God really starts on the day-to-day. It starts with trusting Him in the small things, and just in things that maybe aren't so important, but they're important to me. And so you trust Him with this. I trust Him with this, and then it moves into trusting Him when there's doubt, trusting Him when there's uncertainty, trusting that He's good even though there's pain, and just even though I'm going through these dark times, I can still trust that He's God and He's good, even if I don't see it. And a big, important thing in my life right now, just being 22, having hopefully a lot of my life ahead of me, is trusting Him with my future. And so that started in college. I started as a civil engineering major. Everyone's good, civil engineering. If you know my family, full of civil engineers. It's a nice sciencey major. You can get a job. But as I moved through college, as I progressed, I moved to a telecommunications major. Do media arts and studies type stuff, doing what these guys are doing right now. I was like, I can help churches by doing tech stuff, and then God's like, no, I need you to do philosophy, and unless you go to grad school, what you do with philosophy is you can deliver pizza, and that's really about it. And so I had to trust God that He had a plan, even though people were advising me against going to philosophy. And so I trusted Him with going to philosophy, and I've loved it because you learn how to think, you learn how to have a reason. And I'm about to graduate in December, and at first I thought the best thing to do would be go to seminary. I'll graduate halfway through the semester. I have a job. I'm working in Enterprise Rent-A-Car right now. I was, when I was looking at this, more heavily. And so I could work all through the summer, get a lot of money, save up, and then pay off school loans and then start seminary. And that was my plan. That was my goal. Because it seemed right. It seemed like the smartest decision. But just as I prayed about it, God led me to go on staff at a campus ministry at UK, Christian Student Fellowship. And so that's what I'm doing right now. As I'm finishing up these classes, I'm working there and doing things. And then when I do graduate, I'll go on full time. But part of that is I have to fundraise my own support. My salary comes from what I get donors to give me, what I get them to partner with me in. And so I had to trust God that by doing this, I'm trusting Him completely that I can eat. And so right now, a lot of it's kind of living paycheck to paycheck. Just I get some money, and then I have to pay off bills, and then what's left is not a lot. And so I'm trusting God that He will provide, and He has provided, and He's continuing to provide. It's really cool just because throughout this whole thing, there's been a certainty, and just it's been easy to trust Him because I've trusted Him with my life thus far. And so there hasn't been even though the situations seem insecure or seem just uncertain, I've had a certainty in Him, and just had an assurance from Him that this is what He's calling me to do. This is the right thing, and He will continue to provide. And so it's been a really cool journey, and it's about to get a lot more hectic. An extreme example of trust recently, I got a call one Friday night. I was heading over to hang out with some people, and one of my coworkers calls me and asked me to meet with this guy who had just broken up with his girlfriend, and he's been out in the woods and he's suicidal. And so me and this guy go and end up talking to him, and it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced, just having to deal with a guy who wants to end his life. And there's extreme trust in God in that, and that I didn't feel adequate at all to handle this, but I knew God was. And it was really cool to look back on the night and see how everything was set in place perfectly for God to show up and for God to work. And just knowing that even in situations that seem completely hopeless, there's still hope in God. I know that I can trust Him in anything now. You start and you're faithful in small things. You trust in small things. And as you get more used to trusting in small things, it's easier to trust with bigger things. You don't have to start out trusting God like, I have nothing right now. I trust that you're going to provide everything. Some of you may be there, but that's not where we all have to start. You can start with just trusting today? Like, what's something you're certain of, or what's something that you can trust? Maybe it's just trusting that he's there, trusting that he exists. Maybe it's just trusting that he is good. And you focus on like the details, and in the same way in trust, you don't have to look at the big picture of I trust God with my life. Just sit and think about, what do you trust him with? Do you trust him with your family? Do you trust him with your kids? Do you trust him with your finances? Do you trust him with your heart, the way you talk, your language? Do you trust him with your job? With friendships? Like, and once you can kind of quantify what you actually trust him with, it's easier to trust him with more and more things, because it becomes more and more real to you.